Okay, let's see here. I think I should be able to do that, and then I think everybody can see what I can see, but okay. So the idea is for the writing workshop, you want to, by yesterday, let's just say Wednesday night instead, in any event, but by Tuesday night, you are trying to post your own writing, right? So that's what you post. You post a copy of the assignment that you did for last week, the assignment that was due this last Sunday. So you go to the discussion board, you post it there. Then you are going to find someone's post or someone's assignment that they did. You want to reply to them and tell them, I'm going to go ahead and do your essay or your assignment, right? And then they'll know that you're doing it. Everybody will know that that person's is already done, so they can pick somebody else, right? Then you're going to download this peer review worksheet because it can't leaving. I fixed it for you guys, I'm hoping, but let me find this. Okay, so here's the peer review sheet. I'm gonna make this bigger. My screen is huge, so I don't know what shows up. All right, so this is the peer review worksheet. So you're reading through these elements, right? These are very basic sort of like reminders of how to do peer review. The whole point of it is that you're trying to help people, right? You're doing it in order to help them with their writing. So in your brain, as you're reading, is how can this person make this even better? All right. But you don't have to just do it like, you know, off the top of your head. You have this form. So here's the form. And it basically tries to take you through each element, right? Like each part of the worksheet, have you look for various things. Do they have this? Is their stance arguable? And so on. So you're trying to give as full of an answer as you can, right? Like, it says yes in at least two full sentences, which is great. That's sort of the minimum, right? So you want to give a full answer. Also, if you can, um, I usually tell people one of the best things to do if you can is to quote from the person's essay, right? So if you're going to say like their stance isn't really very I keep calling it an essay. I know it's just an assignment. But if you're like, okay, so their stance isn't really very arguable because I can't think of an opposing thing or whatever, maybe quote their statement and then make comments about how they might make it more arguable, right? So I always suggest this. You quote from the assignment. In general, when writing an academic world, quoting from the thing that you're dealing with is always a good idea. Just always, just generally. Okay, so then you'll go through this. You will finish this peer review, giving long, thoughtful responses. You will save it, and then you will go back to discussion board world, and you will find the person and where you took it, and you will reply again to them, and you'll post this for them. Take a look at my module for week 3. Okay. Okay, excellent. The other thing I'll show, and I'm showing people now, this is only one of my classes. I have a couple, but both classes have this, and actually both classes are on this one document. I created this document. If you click on here, um, it'll take you to this document that you can type in your name. You can tell me your subject. You can tell me the 3 supporting arguments you're going to create. This is all just generating it, right? Trying to help people. And then I will make comments on it, right? So I haven't done it. I just did it. There were only 3 there. So I see more people did it, which is great. So I'll be going to that and trying to help people. Again, it's really just trying to get people started with the process of thinking about, okay, what am I, going to write about here? Okay. So here's the actual assignment, and here's this little. Okay, so let's see. I'll try to do. Okay, so here we are. State your stance within the debate that you chose without using I. So this is, whose was those? Oops, see, this is, okay, so here's the thing. I'm just going to explain some of this. So this stance that you're writing now is on its way to becoming your thesis statement. So the idea is you're trying to create a position that you can take. One of the things you're going to need to do is make sure that it's arguable. And you can know that by identifying opposing views, but we'll talk about that, excuse me, in a moment. So one of the tricks that I teach people is that one of the ways you can make sure that your topic is arguable is by creating a research question, and then your thesis is the answer to that question. If you create a question, if you look up here, you create a question that begins with one of these words, you're sort of setting up the subject so that it can be argued. And here's my examples. I'm talking about driverless cars, right? So should driverless cars ever become the standard for transportation in America? Should people be encouraged to switch over to driverless transportation? Is driverless transportation safe and effective? Right. So these are just, I'm just making these up to try to help me think of some subject. And then your answer to that, this question, is what your stance would be, right? This your, which will turn into your thesis statement. The other trick is, so you create a question using one of these, but this worksheet only asks for your stance, so you don't need to provide the question. You create it for yourself, and then you answer it. One of the ways that you can answer it to make sure that it's arguable is by using, you don't have to do this, but this is the trick that I teach, is by making sure you try to use the word should and the word because. And I would even say the word because is even more important if you can do that. What I'm trying to get people to do is make a statement that's an actual argument statement. And one of the ways to help people do that is to, if you use the word because, you're sort of forced to make a complete argument statement, right? So, like driverless cars, so here's my example here, right? Driverless transportation should become the standard for traveling in America. Okay, that's my stance, but if I put because, that prompts me to try to give some reasons. Reasons. So this is sort of what B is about. Right? B, like, why is your stance a good one for an argument research essay? This is not the best worded question in the world, but instead of being like it's arguable and explaining that, what you really want to do is you want to give actual reasons for it. So if my stance is that they should become standard driving, like, we should replace everything with driverless cars and driverless transportation. If that's going to be my position, then I want reasons for that. Why? What are three main reasons for that? Right? So I try to come up with them in my brain, and then I'll find, see if I can find research and all that. But so right now I have, this will be a safer form of transportation. It will improve the environment, and it will help people who cannot drive now. Right? So those are my three ideas. So when this says, why is your stance a good one for an argument research essay? What I'm telling you to do with this and to look for when you're doing your peer review are actual reasons. So even if you don't give all three reasons, that's okay, because it doesn't ask you for three reasons, it just asks you for sentences. But you want to make sure that the person's giving an actual reason that has to do with their argument statement, right? Why their stance. So it's not, you're not just answering it. And I've seen people answer this both ways. That's why I'm making a big point, because people will write, it's a good for an argument research essay because it's arguable. Okay, that's not it. You need to be like, this is a good stance for an argument because driverless transportation will be safer than regular transportation. Whatever. That's one reason at least. So when you're doing the peer review, also when you're revising your own, you're making sure that you try to start thinking of reasons. So on the other side of that is this opposing idea part. Right. So the opposing idea will eventually, this is the, who might disagree with your stance. Okay. Again, they're trying to get you to work towards opposing views. So if you're having trouble with opposing views, usually that has to do with a problem in your position. If you say something like, should education be improved in America? And my stance is education should be improved in America. Okay, that's not an arguable position, because the other side of that is education should not be improved in America. Nobody's going to argue for not improving education. So I need to change the language so that it's something that can be arguable. Should more money be spent, more government money be spent on education in America? Okay, now we're getting closer to something that can be argued. Some people will say yes, spend more money on education. Some people say no, it's already enough, whatever. That makes it arguable. So usually it's in your initial stance is the problem. So again, when you're peer reviewing, help people with this, okay? Right? If they can, if you could help them with their stance, then probably they'll find some opposing or people who disagree. So who might disagree with you is more important here is the why. Again, you want to try to find answers. So I just think of it as, all right, what are the people going to say? I'm going to say they're safe, they fix the environment, and they help people who can drive. What are things that are against driverless cars? Okay, they won't be safe. That's probably one. Driverless transportation will put millions of people out of work. And then driverless cars will make us less able, like people, and more reliant on technology. So this doesn't mean I'm going to use all of these in my essay. I try to have people just generate 3 of them so that you can at least use one. Eventually, right, you want to bring them up and then you want to shoot them down. Okay, so this essay is not a both sides essay. This is not like there's some good points and some bad points. You are actually taking a position, this is beneficial, and then you're going to say, some people say it's harmful, but this is why they're wrong. So that's what a counter argument is. So I'm going to, eventually in my essay, I'll bring up, some people say driverless transportation will never be safe. That's just inaccurate. Here's some research information I found that proves that this is wrong, whichever. All right, the next part is the, who do you think your audience will be? This I just encourage people to think as broadly as possible, right? So you're trying to think of all the different groups that might be at all interested in the subject you're writing about. So you're not just thinking about like who's going to read it, like your classmates and me. We're not that's not what they mean by audience. They mean like if you're talking about, I don't know, social media and teen depression, social media companies are going to be interested in this. Therapists, counselors, schools might be interested in this. Anybody who has like a stake in the subject. So mine, right, my audience, who's going to be, my audience for driverless cars, going to be people who make driverless cars, people who in the making gasoline world, like oil and gasoline people are going to be interested, especially if they're all electric. Public transportation, governments, stuff like that. I just put them in. So that's all audiences. Just think broadly of who it is that might be interested in at all. That's it. And you list those groups. Okay, the known and unknown, this is just based on your knowledge at the moment, like right now, before you really start to do stuff like research. So you want to create a full paragraph. It has 7 to 9 sentences. You can always have more than that in my world, but what you're trying to do equally is explain things that you already know about the subject and things that you don't know, but you probably need to research, right? So if I'm doing known and unknown, I know about Tesla. I know that they're working on driverless cars. I know that, I don't know, like their driverless cars were supposed to be done by now. I remember one person was run over by a driverless car. Um, and so things I need to find out about, right? So I know some stuff about it. And then unknown stuff would be maybe statistics about, um, you know, casualties or people have been hurt by driverless cars. What about the trucking industry? I should probably look into that because that seems like a big deal. If they make everything automated, they don't need drivers and all that. So anyway, it's you trying to explore the whole topic, come up with, I know these things about it, basically, and here's what I need to learn about it. All right, and this last part's pretty easy, but if you want to make sure that you find research terms like phrases, right, that will help narrow your search, right? So I wouldn't just put in like, I don't know, cars, right? I'm trying to come up with 5 different phrases that will get me closer to like automated cars or automated transportation or accidents in automated transportation or when will driverless cars be here or whatever. Like just 5 different phrases, that's all. And then it just gives you something to start with when you start to actually, research, find articles that are going to help you write this. I'm going to stop this part because that is the key.